Aquarius workshop, recognizing emotional greed. I start with a quote from Pathwork lecture 32. On the Earth's sphere, most people are greedy, not necessarily materially speaking, but emotionally. And when I say greedy, I mean you want to amass advantages without shouldering the responsibility of paying the price for them. That, of course, needless to say, is a violation of one spiritual law. End of quote from Pathwork Lecture 32 with the title Decision Making. A child is self-centered and extremely dependent. It only experiences its needs and it only expects to get. But when an adult wants to get more than he or she is willing to give, there is emotional greed. The degree of egocentricity determines the degree of dependence. We fight against our dependence and at the same time we hold on to it through a selfish attitude. We lack the understanding that happiness comes from within and never from without. When we have outgrown this compulsive greed, we feel equal to others, and there is reciprocity in attention and interest. The greed is then transformed into a confidence that there is abundance in every area. In this workshop we will explore with a loving curiosity our emotional greed using 3 themes from the Pathwork lectures. The first theme: emotional greed for attention. Collectively, there is the unconscious misconception that we can appease our feelings of inferiority by getting everyone's attention, approval and admiration, because we believe that this proves our worth. Inwardly, we scream for attention and approval. We consider ourselves more important than others because of the misconception that this means survival for us. Understanding that we do not depend on the opinion of others but solely on our own opinion of ourselves will free us from this misconception. Now a quote from Pathwork Lecture 57. We in our world can hear your souls shrieking for attention. The Earth's sphere produces this loud noise for us. When we approach your plane, all souls send forth this loud calling and clamoring inaudible to your ears. But you can imagine how noisy it is for us. The voice of the soul is a loud one. All emotions produce sounds, but the loud voice, claiming self-importance, does not produce a very harmonious sound. End of quote, Pathwork Lecture 57. The second theme: emotional greed for omnipotent rulership. Due to a collective unconscious misconception about happiness, namely the immediate fulfillment of all our desires, we want to rule over others. You must do what I want, and if you don't do what I want, I will punish you with my misery, my resentment, and my unwillingness to give. Because this misconception does not bring happiness, an unconscious desire arises to enjoy unhappiness, and we provoke painful experiences. We will find peace if we recognize and learn to let go of our self-destructive tendencies, which are the basis of guilt and shame. Now a quote from Pathwork Lecture 58. By recognizing again and again the ways in which you call for unhappiness, you will cease to call for it. Realizing that there is no longer any need for unhappiness, you will cease to desire to be a ruler when you achieve a more mature outlook on life. In the measure that you discover the desire for rulership within yourself and learn to give it up voluntarily, in that measure you will give up provoking unhappiness and misery. End of quote from Pathwork Lecture 58. The last and third theme. Emotional greed for recognition. In our emotional dependence on the terrible need for recognition, respect, and admiration, we are even willing to sell our souls. There is a constant struggle within us for confirmation, to be appreciated, to prove that we are better than others, to impress, and to be in competition. With that childish attitude, we mask and betray our real adult feelings out of fear of being hurt. When we feel our true worth, this emotional greed disappears, for the true self is independent and never needs to put itself to the fore to be recognized. It recognizes itself and is itself sufficient. Last quote comes from Pathwork Lecture 204. Every human being needs, in healthy proportion, recognition of what he does. But there is an enormous difference between this and a dependence on outside recognition, an inability to do without it at all times, so that the self begins to sacrifice its integrity in tragic ways that cost much too much. The real self is being betrayed, and thus the seeking of recognition defeats itself. End of quote from Pathwork Lecture 204. For more information, look at my website aquariusmens.nl. I wish you all the best. Thank you.